Cool. Okay. Great. Thanks for that, Frank. Okay, I'm just going to show you. Oh, no, I'm not. It's gone. Oh no, we're back. Okay. Okay. So Frank's prepared his gizmo, and I've got it here in this folder. It's cunningly copied there earlier. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a copy of that, and I'm going to pop it into my .nuke directory next to my menu.py. So let's just paste that in there. So this is where Nuke will look by default into your home directory for extra plugins. Then I'm going to go into my menu.py, which we put together earlier. I'm just going to add in a new command to the toolbar. So let's just grab this one and do a copy and paste job on it. So we're going to replace this with heal brush. Heal brush. There we go, heal brush. And then as Frank showed you, it'll be nuke.nodes.heal brush. So it's like we've added an extra node really to Nuke by putting that together. Have I spelled that correctly? Yes, I think so. And then we're going to quit, restart Nuke, and then pop our heal brush down. Excellent. So that's all hooked in. So if you ever get like a gizmo from anyone, that's what you need to do to get into the interface. Okay, I'm going to move on to some more complicated examples now after we've gone through the basics. Really, the complicated examples are really just building on everything that I've already shown. And I'm not going to run it through everything interactively in the script editor. I'll just show you things as we go. The first thing that I'm going to show you is how you set up like a site-wide or a facility-wide customization. So what we've done here is rather than having all your commands in your .nuke directory in your home directory, we've set up a shared directory where all of the tools that have been used across all the presentations today have been kept. So I'll just show you how you do that just by opening this file here. This is a bit techie, but this is what you would typically maybe your system administrator or whoever does your technical setup may set up. So what I've done here is I've added this nuke path environment variable. And what that says that is nuke is going to look in this directory first for everything. So we can put another menu.py in that folder, and nuke will use that first, and then it will go into your home directory and load things from there as well. So let's just have a look in there. So inside that, this is the folder that it's pointing to. You can see that it's got a menu.py and got some folders in there. So I've cleaned things up a bit, put Frank's gizmo in there. I've put the icon in here, and then I've put all of our new Python scripts in there. So another trick here is that as well as using the environment variable to set extra paths for Nuke to look for plugins and UI customization, you can also do it through Python. So this is a Python command that's saying, okay, I want you to search in gizmos and Python and icons as well for extra customization. And the reason I put this in init file is this is another file that Nuke runs. It's the very first thing it runs. It runs that before menu.py. It's called init.py. Okay, I'm now going to fire up my other Nuke with this new environment and show you some examples. So we can see we've got our menu there from our shared one. Let's just load up our example. Okay, this is example of building a sky dome or a pan and tile in the 3D environment in Nuke. So what we've got here is we've got a read up here, and that's got a series of frames, just show you, of a 360 panorama of Wellington, kindly shot by Frank. And from there, we're just sticking them all into these frame holds there. So what the frame holds are saying is that for every time we're at anywhere in the entire sequence, we're always going to hold on frame 1 and frame 2 and frame 3, etc. Then, let's just show you this. Then we're putting them on cards in the 3D environment. And the cards, you can see rotated. around 360. And then finally we're sticking them all together into a scene node at the end. So there's quite a lot of numbers you would have had to punch in to put this together. You would have had to create a frame hold for every one and increment this to this number here. You would have had to have punched in, say, the focal length here and the aperture. You'd have to put in the rotation down here, make sure you offset it by the right amount, flip all the cards by 90 degrees. It would have been a bit of a tedious thing to set up. Also, you can imagine that we've done this once now for 8 cards, and it's for a 360. But what about if you did it again and it was more? You did 15, or maybe it wasn't a 360 dome. It was less, maybe 180 or something. You'd have to do this whole setup again, manually punch in all those numbers. So this we thought was a good thing to try and automate. So I'll just show you our little automatic pan and tile. So just delete all these nodes, and then select our read node and go to our masterclass menu and select pan and tile from the menu up there. And then, hey presto, we've actually created the entire pan and tile in one hit, so which has immediately saved us some time. The other thing we've done here is we've actually added a special new tab now to the scene node. So there's a custom tab now called Panorama. So in there we've got a bunch of knobs, and I'll just go through what they do. So we can now change like the tilt there. So previously that was like hard coded in there, but now we can adjust that. We can also change the rotation. So at the moment it's 45 degrees because it's a 360, but now we can actually change that. So possibly if it was a shot as a 180, we can tweak that value. So leave that at 45. And then finally we can also change the size. So maybe when you're setting this up and cleaning up the edges and so on, you would have this at 1, but then typically you would blow this out to some really large number at the end because it's the sky, it's out in infinity. So how do we put this together? Okay, don't get too freaked out when you see the code. It's really just building on what we did before. So this is defining the pan and tile function or command. Then here we're saying, okay, let's create these custom knobs on that panel. Just show you the panel. So we're saying, okay, let's create the focal, the aperture, the size, and so on. Then what we're doing here is we're going, okay, let's set this to some sensible default values. So we want to go from, say, 0 to 360 for the tilt, for the angle, for the rotation. But then for the size, we're going from like 0 to some really large number. So the sliders have some kind of sensible values. Then we're adding them to the scene node. And then finally, we're just doing another loop. We're looping through all the input images and creating a frame hold for each one, and then setting an expression on each one of the cards, and then finally just hooking up the nodes. So it's really just building on the example that we had before, just a little bit longer. Okay, so that's the pan and tile setup. I think Tile will actually be running this during his presentation as well with a different set of cards. Cool. Okay, the next one I was going to show you was our custom write node. This was put together and actually used by Paul at Realise when they were doing the Seed short film. So this is what he uses there. So I'll just show you what their setup is. I'm just going to launch with a different nuke path this time, so it actually loads in a different menu.py. And this one prompts us now, so it's going to ask us, so when nuke starts up now, it says, okay, what show are you on? And I'm going to put in Seed. And what shot? Well, I'm going to be on shot 21, because I always punch in 21. And hit OK. And then we'll just load up our Sky Dome from before, just so we've got something to look at. Okay, so what we want to do now is we've finished, say, putting together our pan and tile, and we want to write out the final render. So I'm going to create a write node. Now you can see the write node's been created, but again, we've actually created a custom tab here. So by default, the write node comes down like that. This write node comes with this extra custom tab that has the job and the shot number that we just punched in earlier. What we can do now is, once we're happy with our shot and we want to render it out, we click on Create Output, and that automatically creates the correct naming conventions that are used at Realize. So it's set up the shot name, I set up the file name, we're defaulting to an EXR type, so everything's set up in the correct location, which is how he likes it there. Okay, I'll just show you the code for this as well. Okay, it's just building on what we showed before. The first thing we're doing here is we're going to prompt for the job. This is what happens when Nuke starts up. It's going to prompt with this panel there. And what it's doing here is it's saying, okay, if it's in your environment, there's an environment variable called job or shot, I'm not going to show the panel. And this is how they use it at Realize. Actually, they actually do everything at the terminal, so it's not necessary to pop up the panel, but I want to show you a panel. This bit here is saying, okay, well, I'm going to overwrite the creation of nodes. So whenever Nuke does a create node, instead of doing a create node, it's going to run this bit of code here. And what it's saying is, if I have a write node, I'm going to add now this custom job panel. Now you could add a whole lot of other nodes there if you wanted. So if you want to customize a read node as well, you could add a read node section into here, or any other node you like, really. And then finally, this is the last bit, which is creating that tab. Again, very similar to before. First, we create those custom knobs on that panel. Then we're going to set this to some sensible default value. Then this bit of Python actually gets run when you click on that button. So it's really just building up a file name, creating some directories, and then finally at the end here, setting the knob called file, which is the file name and the write, to that new file. Okay, I'm almost done here. So I'm only going to show you a couple more little examples, and then I'm going to show you the Nuke 5.2 panel, and that'll be a wrap. Let's have a look. Okay, this is another one. I'll always bring Frank into the conversation, but this is another one that Frank is going to use quite a lot, and he actually put this together for us. Normally when you drop down a backdrop in Nuke, it sort of drops down like that, and if you want to encompass nodes, you kind of have to drag it out like that. So we want to save some time and get that to be done automatically, so I'm actually going to marquee these nodes and then hit auto backdrop, which is a little one that Frank put together, and hey, it's all magic. Automatically puts. It's just like Shank, yes. So we'll probably just put that in the release, actually. And here's another one which I quite like. This is really for this is really for the people that are already familiar with Nuke, and this is just a nice one that I put together, actually. And what we got here is we've got a bunch of read nodes, but see how they've all got errors on them. Okay, so what's happened there is I've actually moved this folder I've copied it, stolen it from work, and I'm working on it from home, and I've got a copy of them, but all the paths are different, so it can't find all this footage. So normally in Nuke, you need to go through and go through and find all these images and fix them up. So I thought, okay, well, let's do a script to automate this. So I'm going to go here and go fix paths, select that. And it's saying, okay, where is this file, this DPX file here? So okay, I'm going to find its data SUNY-site track. Data SUNY-site track. Oh, and now it's actually fixed all of the nodes in there. Well, this one's arrowed out. There we go, because it needs to do a reload. So it's actually fixed all of the nodes in there at once. So it's corrected, they're all in separate directories. It corrected the DPX, the JPEG, and the Sky there. So I'm not going to show you the code to those. You can have a look at it later if you like. But it's just another time-saving thing that we had in there for the show. Okay, I'm going to pretty much do one more thing, which is show you a quick sneak peek at 5.2, and then we'll go to some question and answers. Where are we? 5.2, just in the bottom here. Okay. Okay, so what I'm going to show you here is this is similar to what we were seeing before, which is a pan and tile. But this time, what we've done is we've put a texture onto a sphere, so it's a complete sphere in the 3D environment. I'll show you that. So it looks like that. So what we've done here in Python is we've added to the camera a new Python knob, and I'm just going to click on it here, and you can see here it's actually got like a little preview of the output through the camera. So what you can do here is you can now frame the shot in your camera without having to go through the scanline render or the 3D environment. So if I could disconnect the viewer here, for instance, I can sort of frame the shot up as like to get it sort of looking okay, and then hook up the viewer and see the final output in the scanline render. So it's just like a little time-saving thing. In this case, it's not making that much difference because we're quite low res and it's loading in really quickly. But you could imagine these textures could be really, really large, and loading them in could take a long time. Interactively moving things around could be quite slow. So it's just a little proof of concept to show what you'll be able to do in Nuke 5.2. You really can like expand, add your own panels and add some OpenGL stuff in there. Should I show you the code quickly? Do you want to see it?
Yeah.
Yeah, all right. For those who are interested, I'll show you the code. Just as a quick peek. And this is quite funny. Ignore the fact that it's called a teapot knob. That's just what Jerry knocked this up the other day, and he called it a teapot knob because originally this was a teapot. Okay, I'm just going to show you the code really quickly, and just show you that it's not really that much more than we were seeing before. So we've got a bunch of stuff here. This is just talking about how we detect the mouse clicks, and then we've got a bunch of OpenGL stuff to make sure the lighting's all kind of nice. And then this is really the guts of it. It's just doing some painting, and that's really it. Oh, one other thing is this callback. This is another thing we've got in Nuke 5.2. I'll just show you this. Is that you've got like two-way communication now between. So it goes both ways. This will move the camera around, but then you can be notified that the camera has moved as well. That's pretty cool. This is on the sea. Okay, so that about wraps it up for me. Remember, all of this code's going to be available after the masterclass, so you don't have to memorise everything. You can just take this away and pull it apart and have a look at it afterwards. Thanks everyone for listening. Thank you heaps, Frank, for helping out. Let's go to some question and answer now.
Any questions? Boozled them, John.
Blank.
You explain it so well.
It's not possible. Yes?
I'll go now.
Where's that hand?
It's about the pan and tile you set up.
Yes.
It looks very bizarre. You didn't use any axis at all. What we normally do is use an axis for each tile, and then a main axis to control all the other axes.
Okay,
Has that been replaced by the gizmo?
Frank, I'll throw it over to you because you put it together originally.
Okay, well, first of all, the transform controls are in each card. So the one single control you need for a pen and tile is mostly rotation. Well, the three controls are the three rotational axes. The new card is clever enough to have camera parameters in it, which might confuse a few people because they'll go, that's a 3D card, why would there be a focal length and a horizontal aperture? But there's controls in the card to actually tell it to be an image plane to a virtual camera, which would be the same as creating a camera and scaling the card so it fits exactly into the camera cone, just like your image plane in Maya.
Right.
The card itself knows about these properties, so you can punch in the focal length and the horizontal aperture. Based on the incoming image, it'll figure out the image aspect for the vertical extents and position itself via a Z distance as an image plane to that virtual camera. And once you've set that up all in one node, all you have to use is the X, Y, and Z rotations to position it inside of your dome. And you use the Z distance to scale the entire dome, because effectively the pivot point is not effective. The pivot point will remain in the center, and you just scale it away from the center.
All right. Thank you.
Anyone else?
There's one behind.
Getting my exercise.
I'm having you run around.
Thank you. Oh, I don't like hearing my own voice. Can the new Python in Nuke be created to be used to create a more complicated user interface, where you can customize, like to put your nav viewer inside the viewer, and would able to like create shortcut controls? And the second one is, can Python be used to create a more complicated ColX or Warper nodes?
First one is you can use Python to create custom user interfaces inside each one of the nodes. If you want to add like actual toolbars and so on to the viewer, you can't do that in the current release, but you will be able to do that in the next release, which will be Nuke 5.2. So you'll be able to add custom toolbars to the viewer via a node. Second question is about nodes and so on. You can't create image processing nodes in Python currently. So if you want to actually process the image in Python, you can't do that. But you can change the existing nodes that you have already. So if you want to add some new parameters and so on, that's possible.
Thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions? No?
Awesome.
Okay.
I can go and have a drink now.
Thank you, John. Thank you, Frank.